Back, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to go over some tips, things that you can use to improve your survival rate in Escape from Tarkov. Let's go. Okay, so at its core, Escape from Tarkov is a survival game. Getting out alive is the most important thing, and that really should be top of your priority list whenever you go into a raid. First piece of advice is always go into a raid with some kind of objective in mind. Your objective can just be go in and murder everyone in sight. That's absolutely fine. It might be to go in and find a specific piece of gear. It might be to find an item. It might be to further a quest. Try and stick to an objective per raid so you know exactly what you're doing. It is absolutely fine, like I say, if you just want to go in with a group of people and have fun, that's fine. Just kind of stick to what you're doing though, because so many times in this game I've been killed because I've been trying to get a quest done where I kill scavs in an area, but then I know I'm close to an area that can do another quest where there's an item, and I break off from my path and I end up getting killed. Try and be aware of what you're in the raid for to do, and try not to deviate from that too much. One of the other things that people always say with Escape from Tarkov is learn the maps, learn the maps, learn the maps, learn the maps. Everyone always says it. Learning the maps will help you because they will help you navigate around the map. However, basic sort of movement and cover will keep you alive far more than map knowledge. Generally speaking, so long as you can, keep an eye on landmarks, if you spawn on one side of the map, your extracts are going to be on the other. Loads of people always say, have a map up on a second screen or on your phone, something like that. And that is sound advice. Knowing where your extract is and how to get out of a raid is obviously imperative because you don't want to make all this progress and not be able to escape at the end of it. However, as you're moving around the map, be aware of how you're moving and where you're visible from. So one of the things that will really get you killed more than anything else in this game, in my opinion, is being out of position. Especially when you're entering a firefight, because the time to kill is so short in this game. A single bullet sometimes can be the difference between you surviving and dying. It really can. So you want to make sure that as you're moving through the map, you're in the best possible position to engage any enemy. What I mean by that is also being aware of the way that you enter buildings, for example, the way you move around cover. So if, for example, we thought there was a player in here and we were entering this building, obviously you want to be coming in and clearing all of your corners as much as possible. There's a limited amount of places in here that the player could be. You want to be thinking where they are, what they're trying to achieve, where the items are, that sort of thing. So I know that in the top floor of this building, there is an intel spawn that is worth a lot of money. Players that spawn on this side of the map will often rush it. So because of that, obviously, come in here, check your corners, make sure there's no one hiding, all of that jazz. However, over here, the most likely place that this player is going to be would be upstairs or down the end of this corridor. Therefore, left-hand peek here, not very good. Again, I'm exposing more of myself to perform a left-hand peek than I am a right-hand peek, and also I would need to show my back to an area here in order to clear that corner. What you can do instead is come in through the back door here. As we come through this door here, what that means is we're able to clear this section. So we've only got the one corridor angle to deal with. The reason that we set up this angle instead of the other one is for two reasons, actually. So the first one is that while we're behind a sort of left-hand bend here, it allows me to stand with my body completely behind the wall. So right now we're not visible to anyone that's down that corridor. If it was a left-hand peek instead, I have to expose myself in order to peek that corner. So right now I'm behind a right-hand turn for my character, and right now my leg here is actually sticking out across the threshold of the wall. So although I can't see anyone down that corridor, they can see me, they can shoot my leg out. I would probably die in this situation. Again, then if I peek the corner, far more of me is now visible. They can see sort of my full upper body, my head, my left leg. Everything is exposed here in order to peek that corner. What a lot of people don't know, and I will demonstrate over here just while we've got a little bit of light. Same principle applies here, but what you can actually do is you can hold Alt and you can just change the degree that you look around a corner. This is fantastic for finding an angle on someone, especially if you're dealing with, you know, like a little gap in a fence or something like that, which I'll show you in a minute. But also what you can do is you can actually hold Alt and you can use Q and E as well to actually sort of sidestep out as well. It does obviously peak a little bit more of yourself, but this is also quite handy if you just want to quickly jet yourself out and take a few shots. The other reason that the Alt here is great for things like this is you can put yourself in a situation like this and you can just peek a corner very, very slowly, have a look for any enemies and move on. So again, another example there, we're behind some cover here. You can just peek it a little bit, expose just a slither of yourself in order to take a shot. Instead of exposing yourself fully, standing out in the open, things like that, use the environment to your advantage when you're playing Escape from Tarkov, and these things will keep you alive more than anything else in the game. So what we did there is we just quickly sidestepped. We used the Alt and E just to quickly sidestep out, exposing just a little bit of ourselves, take the shot, move on. So really try and keep an eye on sort of how you're moving around the map, the way that you expose yourself into firefights, all of these different things. Be aware, map knowledge will help a little bit. So for example, knowing customs, I know that there's a potential for a sniper to spawn on top of here. There was a sniper on top of this building, and I also know that scavs can spawn in this area. Store all of these different things as you're moving around the map, because then you can prevent yourself from being too exposed. So right now, I want to make sure that there's not a sniper on top of here. I know there's a wall here. However, there is also a loot spawn behind this fence here. So you want to try and be aware of all of these different things as you're moving around the map, because you know, these are places that players could be. Try and think, where would a player be? What are they there for? Is there high value loot in the area? Try and store and think of all these things as you're moving around the map, because it will be the difference between you surviving and dying. You know, if you switch off for a second and forget that there's a loot spawn down here and there could be a player there, there could be scavs around this area. Keep all of these things in mind as you're moving around. Now, the thing that will get me killed more often than anything else in this game, by far, is being out of position. Being out of position is definitely one of the most common reasons that I die. It's, you know, it's not because the other player's got far better gear than me, or, you know, they're running some Chad loadout, anything like that. It really is because 9 times out of 10, they've caught me basically with my pants down. You know, I've not been thinking as I've moved around from one section of the map to another. I've let my guard down, or they were just in a better position for the fight itself. Now, your silhouette is one of the first things to consider in this game. So having, you know, different gear on you will make you a larger silhouette. So if we were just wearing, you know, basically nothing, small backpack and a small rig, that sort of thing, then obviously our physical appearance is much smaller than would be, you know, if we were wearing a pilgrim, for example. That does mean that you'd be sort of a larger target for people to see. As well as that, as we're standing in an area like this, up on a hillside, we do have a little bit of cover. You know, you can stick here to the trees, for example, to conceal yourself as you're looking out sort of over the surrounding area. But if you were just to stand here on the open, you know, with nothing but daylight behind you, you make yourself a visible target to anyone that is stood anywhere around here, really, that is looking up at this area. Use the terrain to your advantage, even if that means sort of here, you know, obscuring people's view of you here with the tree and the rock in front. So you can come over here, you know, peek an angle, all of these different things. Try and use the terrain and stuff to your advantage as you move around. So again, now we want to move over to this side of the map. You want to try and use the best possible route that will give you the best survival chances. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the low ground. So we're taking the low ground here. As you just saw, if we were moving out in the open there was a sniper scav. So just walking straight down here, the middle of the road, you're asking to get shot. You know, that you've got no concealment. If someone was to take a shot at us, we don't really have many options in terms of cover. You know, we could potentially run to this vehicle here, but you want to try and minimize someone taking the shot at you first as much as possible. And the way that you can do that is by moving through the cover, using the terrain to your advantage. Try wherever possible not to be walking just straight through bushes to make noise. You want to be trying to move as stealthy as possible, and then use the sort of terrain here to your advantage. We have just cleared everything behind us as we've come through this garage area, so we know that there's less chance of us getting shot in the back right now. So what we can do is use the terrain, peek around. There is someone close by, I can hear them. Now, as you get later on in a raid as well, this is where map knowledge will help you a little bit, because you will know now that sort of where the danger areas are between sort of you and your extract. Players that spawned on the other side of the map will be sort of crossing over where I am right now. This is about sort of halfway on the customs map, so having a mental note of that will help you. You should be aware now that you're more likely to run into other enemy players at this stage. Looting is another massive one in Escape from Tarkov. So we've just killed this man here. He is not in a very great place to loot. There is some potential cover here. So what we can do is we can use this pipe here in order to sort of conceal ourselves. There is a bush as well here that conceals us from down the road. And there's also a little bit of a roadblock here. We are vulnerable to anyone that was where we were when we shot this character. So what we would do is try and use as much cover as possible. You know, you can be as far back as you want here next to the heating pipe, and then just sort of grab a hold of his shoe here to start the looting process. Another thing to take into consideration as you're moving through the map is if I'd have killed him and he was right here on the verge of the roadside, I would have probably have left him. You know, stopping to loot someone here, even if you go prone, you leave yourself exposed again to anyone that's potentially up here, the sniper scav, anyone that's up on this high ground. You know, people here in the forest can see you, as well as being visible right the way down the road here. Try to be smart about when you stop to loot. I was actually showing one of my friends recently who is new to the game how to play. We stopped to loot a particular kill because we were trying to get him as much gear as possible, obviously, and we both got clapped from a distance. Sorry for the camera cutting out there a couple of times. I've been having a couple of technical issues with my equipment, but hopefully it should be all fixed for the next one. Got a dummy battery coming for the camera that should hopefully solve a lot of the issues. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hopefully this helps someone. I really do think that movement and positioning in this game is by far the biggest killer. It's certainly the thing that gets me killed the most, you know, sort of overexposing myself, over committing to a particular angle, or just not being aware of all of my surroundings, allowing myself to sort of switch off for a minute during gameplay. These are really the things that gets me killed the most, as opposed to being sort of completely steamrolled by a better player with better gear. Positioning really is one of the sort of fundamental things in this game that you can get better at and ultimately win more firefights and get out alive. So that being said, that is it for this video. We're going to continue next time with more sort of beginners tips, guides, all of these sort of things for the game. So until next time, I'll see you later, guys. Bye.